Hiya, welcome back to The Lockdown on pushthebutton.ie and the lockdown.ie. This is episode 32 and it's our season finale. So thank you so much to everybody who's been a guest on the show and also to you who's been watching and subscribing. Really appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you can still subscribe to Push the Button on YouTube because we're also going to be doing all of our usual Push the Button videos, how to learn how to do DJ things and stuff, which is fun. Today's guest is a fellow DJ. We both worked on the iconic radio station back in the day, Atlantic 252. That's why I'm wearing this t-shirt. Yeah. Atlantic 252. Please welcome Rick O'Shea. Rick O'Shea, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, thanks for asking. This is a strange one. I'm sitting in my sitting room having a conversation with you via a laptop and all of our tech, which a few weeks ago, neither of us was doing this stuff. So this is the weird and the new normal all at the same time.
Yeah, and are you getting used to the new normal?
Yeah, and strangely, we talked about this just before we started, but prior to about 4 weeks ago, I'd never really done anything like this before. I decided when all this lockdown happened that I was going to do some book stuff because I knew of a load of Irish authors who all had books that were coming out. Their launches were all cancelled, and I thought, well, look, maybe I'll be able to do something. And then the Late Late Show and Graham Norton all started interviewing people by Skype, and I went, well, if this is the new normal, why can't I get away with it? And so I started doing this from my kitchen 3 nights a week, talking to authors in their kitchens 3 nights a week. And it seems both like I started it yesterday and I've always been doing it. So yeah, it got very normal very quickly.
Well, I think, because the two of us have been involved in media and working with mostly sound, I think this is probably easier for us to set up than it would be for your everyday person who would probably have a meltdown trying to figure out how to put all of this together.
Oh no, I had a complete meltdown. No, totally nonsense. Yeah, not a clue. I'm fairly okay with tech stuff. I've been in this a really, really, really long time, and I'm okay with bits and pieces, and I'm quite fine with computer-related stuff. But initially when I started this, I had some real issues. I was trying to get it to do a Facebook Live with me interviewing someone else and me including graphics in it. I had to go through 3 or 4 different versions of stuff, and eventually I hit on something that really worked and that allowed me to do it as a Facebook Live, which is how we do it every evening. And then after a few weeks I got stupid and I went, sure, why don't I set up a YouTube channel as well for people who aren't on Facebook? And then I started uploading all of them to the YouTube channel as well. Look, anything could happen over the space of the next few weeks. Genuinely, this is all
I know. Well, we have to innovate and create and think forward on how we're going to do all of this. You're still on the radio though. You're still going into RTE, are you?
Yeah, it's strange in that for some people who do what we do, they have ended up doing their shows remotely and doing them from home. In RTE, some people are doing that, but some people are still coming into studio. To be fair, the place is mostly like a ghost town most days because almost everybody is working remotely. That's in terms of backroom staff and in terms of presenters as well. For ourselves on Gold, we were just said, you can keep coming in if you want to, and so we did. So I've been physically in the building in RTE 6 days a week since the middle of March.
Oh wow,
it's been busy.
That is good, and it's great that you still have that to be able to go to. There is a lot of people who haven't been able to obviously go to work, and I suppose with broadcasting, you're providing a service and information to get messages across out there. So
oh no, I'm not giving you any information. Nonsense. We're just playing music. Our job is to literally tell you nothing about anything. Our job is to play non-stop, Steely Dan and Stevie Wonder. That's we're the exact opposite of what our friends at RTE Radio are doing. We're just trying to not remind you about the thing. We try to not.
So it's an escapism kind of thing.
It's hugely it. And you're right about the whole about getting to leave the house thing as well, because my wife is actually next door now from where I'm having this conversation with you, and she's in the kitchen. And the kitchen has been her office for the last however long, since we started all this. It feels like anything between 6 weeks and 42 years ago, I don't know. But since the very beginning of this, she set herself up with a home office next door, and so she's been working from the kitchen table every day, and we have those conversations where she goes, I would kill to just be going into the office just once. And it's the sort of thing none of us would have said weeks ago. God, I'd really love to go into the office today. But now here we are.
I know. I go out. So we do our, like most people, we do our shop once a week, and there's a few bits and pieces that you can't get in your Lidl and Aldi. So we have to go to the other stores like your Londis or Centre or SuperValu, and I do that one while Lisa goes to the Lidl. And I love getting out for those few minutes. But today I had a complete meltdown. But because my car hasn't been used, in fact, in a week and a half, it was dead. The battery was dead. I was just like, I was panicking. So I was grand. I was able to jumpstart it off Lisa's car. But it meant that I had to drive around my block, like within the 5 kilometre zone for a few minutes to just charge the battery so I wouldn't be sitting dead outside the shop. But I was fine. It was all good. And that's how we got here.
Whereas, I'm the exact opposite of you in that I know every single Garda checkpoint in Dublin. I know the lads on it. I know them to say hello to every single day. It's yourself again, is it? Yeah, it's myself. You still going to work? You are. Is RTE still happening? Nah, sure it is. And
Is RTE still happening?
I'm the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, I know. It's mad to get. Let's go back to go back like years and years to when we first met. Were you still in Atlantic 252 when we first met, or?
Well, what I was in Atlantic literally for 18 months. I know it seems like forever, but I was only there from about 92, I think, until the tail end of 1993. So I was there for what was a heartbeat. However, the number of people in the intervening years who've come up to me and said, I remember you on... I was there for a year and a half. It's like such a tiny, obviously very important part, but such a tiny part of my career. Did we meet there at that stage, or did we meet slightly later than in 104?
See, I think when you were in 252, so in 1993 to 94, I would have been with Kevin Brannigan and Mike Ormond working on that lovely pirate radio station Kiss FM, which upset a lot of people. And I have a funny feeling that we might have met through somebody through that and became friends, because I then started to work in FM 104, doing everything, like working on the street team. I was working on the phone shows, I was doing reports, I was doing everything. I was helping out in the music, and I think we possibly met through that way. And then you left 252 and went to FM 104, and then I went to Atlantic 252, but I wasn't there for a year and a half. I was there for 5 years.
Yeah, I know. And, sometimes, one of us gets the dodgy end of the stick. And that was you. You were there for 5 whole years in film. And I mean that with no disrespect to my ex-colleagues. It's such a long time ago, though. And the worst part is, I feel, I don't know about you, I feel like that was, 10 years ago. I feel like that was, like, it's my birthday this week. On Thursday, I am 47 years old. I had my 20th birthday, my 21st birthday in Atlantic, and I'd been there for about 6 weeks beforehand. So you're talking about it's 26 years ago that I was working.
Yeah, that's insane. And I loved it there, and I live quite close to Trim, where it all was, and I got to meet Lisa, my wife, through that as well. So, and we're still together, which is amazing. Fair play to her for putting up with me.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I mean, fair play to her. Yeah, true.
But no, it is great, and because I live locally, I still see some of the people who used to work there, like who worked in accounts or in traffic or in anything that worked locally, because it wasn't just obviously staff being brought over from the UK. There was obviously people who were employed locally, and sure, every day I see the lights flashing on the big tower, which I think RTE Radio 1 is broadcast on longwave there, isn't it?
It is, yeah. That's the whole thing about whether or not Radio 1 continues to broadcast on longwave. It is that great big tall tower. The weird thing, and you will appreciate this being the semi-anorak that you are, that a few weeks ago because we've started simulcasting Gold on Radio 1 at the weekends. There's no sport happening at the moment. So Saturday afternoon on Radio 1 between 2 and 6, where you would normally find all the sport, is me. And it's a show that we've just created. It's me playing music, and it goes out on Gold as well at the same time. But somebody pointed out to me that that's the first time you would have heard my voice on 252 Longwave for whatever 25 and a half years-ish.
Yes.
Someone was paying attention. Some seriously hardcore anorak. Apologies, I've forgotten who you are, but they pointed it out to me on Twitter. There's always one or two.
There's a few. There is a few. That's mad. And it's gas, is like, because with technology now these days, and with the costs that mast even just the electricity alone, like the need for it, I don't know, like, is it still there when people can just listen on the apps and online?
Yeah, that's what we were told back in the day. The electricity was always the big thing. It's like, do you know how much the electricity costs to run this thing? That was the conversation back in the early 1990s. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole discussion that goes on about that, and about Irish people in the UK, particularly older Irish people in the UK who maybe don't necessarily have a handle on how you can get radio through apps, and that they'd much rather continue to listen on their long wave radio. It is an obsolete technology, let's be honest. In fact, I think it was an obsolete technology when you and I were there in the mid-90s, and it hasn't really gotten any more relevant since then. And I think
well, like,
you can find us.
When we were there towards the end, and all of the regional licenses, that I think it was the Galaxy network that came on board, and they literally were doing what we were doing, but in this beautiful stereo FM, and we just went from like millions of listeners, and it just dropped in the radars, and we're like, whoa, what's going on? They were listening in lovely polished FM, and they didn't have to listen to 252, and depending on the weather as well, of how clear you actually get the signal.
Or those particular days where there was a radio station in Algeria as well that was also on 252 long wave, and if the sun was beaming in a certain direction, you'd occasionally get cut through from an Algerian radio station too. I haven't thought about this in a really long time. I don't know if I want to. This is stuff I've buried. I've buried this deep, Stephen. It's long since gone
Okay.
at this point.
Well, let's move on, because after I left 252, you were leaving FM 104, and I was then replacing you on FM 104.
I couldn't have thought of a better person for the job, frankly. You were just, if I was going to get fired and someone was going to get my gig, I wanted it to be you.
And it was so awkward for me as well, because I was like, oh shit, I can't just go and do this gig. And they were like, no, he's going anyway. So I'm like, oh, okay. So we did speak. So like it was all good. We're still all good, right?
It's one of those strange things I think that people outside radio don't necessarily understand, that when you do the job that we do, odds are you are going to be replaced against your will a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to happen many, many times in many different radio stations. And, one of two things happens early on. You either come to accept that and go, yeah, look, there's nothing we can do about this. Or, sometimes you become one of those people who's very angsty and resentful and all that stuff. I think, the longer you're in this business, the more you come to go, yeah, look, if I'm going to be replaced, it doesn't matter who it is. And you can't hold those things. It's
you have to expect it.
I may have held it for a really, really long time, and I just haven't taken my vengeance out on you yet. Who knows?
Shocking. So then it was your footstep went into RTE, and you've been in the RTE Montrose for how many years now?
Well, since 2001, so that makes it 19 years. I know. Look, I know. I walked in 19. I was 28 when I started there, and it's 19 years ago.
Wow, that's insane. And you've done every single show on every single station since.
Well, I've tried. I think when I was still with 2FM, I did every single daytime slot at one point, and then I did weekends for a while. And I've been with Gold for 2.5 years now, but a little bit more full time on Gold during the day. So it's a strange one. It does not feel like that long, and yet it does. And for anybody in our business to end up doing, to be gainfully employed by anyone for 19 years is nothing short of a miracle. So I'm always, touch wood and fingers crossed for that every day.
Then I know that you've always been interested in literature, and in fact, well, I remember when you lived on the Quays in Dublin, you were right beside the Winding Staircase bookshop, and I think we pretty much spent a good bit of time in there. So is that why you're interested in doing book reviews? Kind of, you were like, right, this is what I love. I'm going to start doing this now on radio, and now that you're doing it online.
No, it was accidental. I've been this person forever, but it was never part of the daytime job, because there's loads of things that you like in your own life as a presenter that doesn't manage to make its way into the day job, which, if you're you or if you're me, is usually playing music and talking about that music and playing ad breaks and doing competitions. So everything else that you're into in your life, it tends not to make its way into that. And then it just happened that whatever it was, it's about 7 years ago now, that I ended up doing a thing where I decided I was going to read 100 books in a year because I really wanted to make an inroad in all of the stuff that I kept seeing in bookstores that I was getting I was hyperventilating every time I'd end up in a bookstore because there were new things there I wanted to read. So I thought 100's a silly idea, but sure, if I say it out loud, then someone is going to keep me to it, as opposed to most New Year's resolutions, you give up after 4 weeks. And I did.
Yeah.
And I wrote something about it for, I think it was The Independent at the time, and then Arena had me on to talk about it. And then it kind of became a thing, and then I ended up reviewing books in places, I ended up talking about books online, and it's all kind of done the snowball thing from there to the point where I am where I am now. We have a new series of The Book Show on Radio 1 at the moment. I'm halfway through a brand new series of The Book Show there. I'm presenting a chat show online 3 nights a week where I talk to authors in their houses, and I do about 7 other different book-related things. I'm judging a book prize this year. I'm curating part of a festival that's happening in UCD. And it was never a plan. There was never a deliberate thing, but that I can take something that I love so much and turn it into part of the job, that's a win.
That's pretty cool, man. I'm delighted for you because you're doing something you love and you're getting paid for it. So, win-win.
It's tough. Yeah, it is. No, and that's if you can do that, then the old thing about never working a day in their life, yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah. So, how's things now with family life and home with the lockdown? Are you all getting on all right? You're not killing each other yet?
Well, it's a strange one for me in that it's slightly unusual in that I'm divorced, so my kids live with my ex-wife, but she lives in Kildare, so it's been quite a distance away. I haven't seen my 2 youngest kids for about 5 weeks now, maybe a little more, and I get to see them this weekend for the first time. We've done the video calling thing, we've done the chatting, but my son turned 13 since the last time I saw him.
Oh my God!
My daughter is now 16. My eldest is a completely autonomous human being. He's 22 at the moment, and he's moved in with us. Yeah, I know. Look, tell me about it. He's moved in with us since all of this started because he's working in a large food retailer. So he's going to work every day, and he's going and stacking shelves in the supermarket that it is that he works in. So he's living with us here at the moment, and my wife is working from home, and I'm kind of working in and out, and he's kind of working in and out as well. So it's been unusual, and it's been strange, and I know a lot of people that I talk to who have quite small children and are going through this. So kids that are everything from 6 months old to maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I am so glad that my kids are not of that age. Like my youngest is 13 now. They are fully functioning human beings. They're capable of dealing with stuff, and they understand what's going on. If I was dealing with this situation with really, really, really small kids, every parent I know who's going through that has all of my sympathy.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I think when this is all done and dusted and when they eventually go back to schools, I guarantee you that every single parent in the country is going to be screaming for pay rises for teachers, without a shadow of a doubt.
I think that you got a whole bunch of categories of people there. You've got teachers, you've got everybody who works in the healthcare industry, anybody who's working on minimum wage, stacking shelves, all of these people who've been continuing to do their jobs right now. I would like to think that will happen, Stephen. I really would.
I know. I hope once we can get out of this and everybody will be looked after. Come here, listen, it's been lovely catching up with you.
And it's been weird. This is really bizarre but nice at the same time. So this has been good.
We had a good little anorak session. That'll keep the anoraks happy.
Thanks a million for having me on. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Not at all. Take care. Thank you so much to Rick, and I hope you really enjoy that, especially the little anorak session that we talked about radio for quite a bit. Make sure you check out Ricochet on Twitter and Instagram as well, and his own YouTube page. Well, thanks for watching our season finale of The Lockdown, and we'll see you soon. Stay safe.